Now, this is going to be a new one. This is different. We have a services company, financial services, Fifth Third Bank. David Morton, are you on the line? There
I
he
am
is.
here. Great
I,
to be on with you.
all right. Thank you. Thanks for joining, man. Once again, I'm getting all these big hitters here to come on a Saturday afternoon. Wow. This is very impressive. But
Well, it is a Saturday afternoon, but I love what you're doing. I think it's important to help racers figure out how to be successful. So I'm pleased to be part of it.
right on. Well, I appreciate it. So I'm just going to just be blunt. Fifth Third Bank, are you looking for more race teams? And if so, why?
Well, uh, we're always our eyes are always open to
Yeah.
new opportunities. We love the partnerships that we have in racing today, and we're I don't feel like we fully maximize our partnerships and gotten all the benefits out of them. But that said, we've grown to having three race partnerships over the years, and we added more because we felt like they brought more opportunity in ways that we might not be able to realize with our existing partnerships. So when I look at new partnerships with a new race team, it's, well, how can you be additive to what we're already doing? What new business can you bring us that we won't get through our existing partnerships?
Because your partnerships are different. You're not selling tires or carburetors, performance parts that make a race car faster. You're selling financial services. You're a bank. What does your sponsorship look like? If someone's sponsored by Fifth Third Bank, what do they get and what are you expecting from them?
So if as far as our race team partnerships that we have,
Yes.
yeah. So for us, our primary objective is gaining access to businesses that are associated with motorsports,
There we go.
and that falls in a couple different buckets. Certainly the other race teams that maybe are involved in the same series, um, race tracks that the race teams are racing at that we would have the opportunity to gain some connectivity with, and other corporate sponsors that run in the series with both that race team as well as maybe other race teams that we would have the ability to get to know through that sponsorship with the race team, and then suppliers to the sport, and that's we've been very successful
Suppliers.
leveraging our partnerships to gain connectivity to these suppliers, and that the suppliers are well known, but it goes from our conversation goes from, instead of being just a cold call on a supplier, because we've been in business for 165 years, a lot of it in the Midwest where there's a lot of automotive and racing, but when if you're the bank down the street and you're not involved in motorsports, and you go call on them, it's a cold call. You don't understand their business, and that's where our sponsorships with race teams helps us, because they can give us that warm introduction that we can't have, and they help us be an authentic part of the motorsports community, and that matters to the suppliers and to everyone that's involved in the sport.
So every race team is a small business. The larger race teams, the bigger businesses, they're potential customers and clients of Fifth Third. But it's what I'm hearing is that their partners are what you're also interested in. And then, of course, the suppliers, all the businesses and the sponsors of the different series, they're all potential banking customers. That's who you're targeting.
That's who we're targeting, and it's so different than other sports sponsorships. When you think about it's motorsports is an unbelievable business development platform. That's the way that we look at it, and I think it's that way for two reasons. One, because well, three reasons. There's so much passion behind racing that you don't find in other sports to the same degree as what you do in racing. It's big business, but it's a small community, and it's a community built on relationships that really try to work together, help each other, have fun, and be successful. And and the third reason, I lost my third reason. I had another reason in there someplace, but yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, the
Um,
connections are key. The connections. I mean, you had a really nice social at PRI. You had a cocktail
mhm.
party, and I walk in, and boom, there's Kyle Keitzman, who we're going to have on the call here shortly, president of Bell
Yep.
Helmets. Kyle was there. I look around, I see racers. I see Jamie Meyer, former president of PRI, was there. It was a room full of VIPs. So the networking, the putting people together, I can completely see what it is that you're doing and why it has value, especially to a bank, financial institution. And I want to say you are the motorsports bank. I don't know of any other financial institution that has the reach and the depth in motorsports as you do.
Yeah, well, and that's for a couple different reasons. When we got involved with racing, we realized that we needed to be fully committed to motorsports, and that needed to be a long-term commitment. We needed to be involved in multiple levels. So we certainly have our partnerships with the race teams, but we also are a founding member of PRI, where we're very active with a member of SEMA. I've served on the board of the North Carolina Motorsports Association for over a decade now. So it's part, I mean, we're doing this because we're going to get a return on the investment, but it's also important for us to give back to the community, just like we do as a bank in our local regions and the communities there. So other other banks may have a sponsorship here or there, but they're not out of the track like we are. 25 weekends throughout the year, we're out at races, and you won't see them at PRI, and they're not hosting receptions. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we just think it's important to support the industry as a whole, and to be loyal to our sponsors, our partners that we have a sponsorship with.
Well, I do look forward to your reception every year. It's pretty fun. It is. What
Yeah,
does a
we enjoy it.
sponsorship from Fifth Third Bank look like? Is it cash? Is it services? Do you make introductions? Do you
Yeah,
provide
it's
content? Put your teams in the media. What do you do for them?
yeah. So our what we look for is we're different than like BF that can do contingency programs and things like that. So for us, it's an exchange of money. So we'll we'll put together a partnership, and the race team will say that's going to, for to be on the car for 5 times a year, that's going to cost you $100 a race. And based on that, you giving $100, us giving $100 to the team, we'll get uh, our paint scheme on there for 5 races, and we'll get social media through that, through the team's reach. And for us, that's important, but it's not the driver of the ultimately the return on our investment. It's that measuring the the business relationships that we gain, that the team provides access to, as I talked about before. Now, our partnerships, we tend to look at them in 3-year increments. I'm a big believer in not doing a partnership with a team that's just 1 year at a time. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's got to be a two-way commitment, and it takes time to get the return on the investment. And any team that tells you that they can get you return on investment in 1 year is not telling you the truth. And any sponsor that thinks that they can get the return in 1 year doesn't know what they're talking about.
That is true. It does take time. And 3 years is what I find to be the sweet spot in terms of really getting the program together and understanding and building that formal co-partnership in order to approach customers for the sponsor itself. So I'm assuming $100 was just a number you threw out there. That's not exactly what you pay. I'm like, is it 100,000? I'm wondering. He's not going to tell me. Um,
Well,
Fifth Third Bank.
I mean, I'll tell you what. In the NASCAR space, it goes from at the cup level to 200,000 to 500,000 per race, depending on the
Okay.
team you're with.
Per race. Right
Mhm.
on. Now, is that all cash or is that services provided? Because I know you do a lot of M&A counseling or consulting, and there's a lot of, everything from family planning, financial planning, I should say, for family and death benefits, things like that. You do more than just banking.
Yeah, certainly a full service bank, and we're, depending on how you measure us, between the 12th and 15th largest bank in the country. The So when we look to bring on a new sponsor, a new sponsorship, a team, one of the first things we look at is what are the direct opportunities with that race team in terms of financial services that we can provide. So we expect to become their primary bank, and that can be providing lending services, that can be treasury management, cash management services, uh, uh, credit cards, all the things that it might take to run a team, and of course, deposits and things like that. So that's really that's the first thing we look at is in terms of getting the return on the investment is what does that banking relationship look like with that team? Does that team owned by a person that has another business that we would be able to provide banking services for that business as well? So now now we're starting to build a strong business case where we see some guaranteed revenue that'll come back to the bank. And when we look at sponsorships, we're looking at, and it's not completely as straightforward as I'm going to describe it, but we're looking at basically a 3 to 5 return on the dollars that we invested and the revenue we get back. So if we invest $1, we expect to get $3 to $5 back in revenue, and we want as much of that to be much of that revenue back be revenue directly associated with the team or the ownership of that team, and then the rest of it comes from who that team can introduce us to and help us get business that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Is it easy to measure that, or how do you measure results? Let's say a team makes an introduction and then that introduction leads to a lot of business. Does the team get credit for that business, or how do you measure the results of some of your sponsorships?
So and that's one of the reasons why we focus on B2B is because we can measure it. Unlike on the consumer side, it's very hard to know that someone opened up a bank account with us today because there's millions of consumers out there. But on the business side, we track it in our customer relationship management system, and we flag it when we know it's an opportunity that came through a discussion that was related to the team. If we were at a race and at a race that because of that sponsorship of that team, and even if the team didn't directly introduce us, if we were in the garage and we got introduced to somebody and that led to business, and we wouldn't have that business if we hadn't been in the garage, and we wouldn't have been in the garage because we didn't have a partnership with a race team. So we will directly attribute that, and we don't have any arrangements where, and some companies do this where if we win some business, we basically provide a commission back to the race team. I mean, I think that's viable for some businesses. It's just not for ours. So what it does for us is it just helps us generate a business case that allows us to keep investing. And like for our NASCAR partnership that we have, we're going into our 12th season, and we've been able to do that because we're getting that return, and so that allows us to keep extending the partnership. And we did also we increased our investment some as well.
That's cool. In 30 seconds, do you have any last words of advice, just sponsorships in general, especially, let's say, from a financial institution's perspective?
Well, one, don't overlook companies that aren't endemic to racing. I mean, there's a lot of companies out there that are good opportunities. And, for a bank, what we really liked about racing is that nobody else was doing it. There weren't any other banks doing it. It's a wide open market for us to be able to put a stake in the ground, differentiate ourselves from our competitors, because banking is banking. It's really hard. I mean, falls back to you got to have good services and the right talented people. but it's really hard to differentiate yourself. And so, so this was a way to really differentiate yourself. One other thing I would say, and I don't get, well, this goes back to my point here to think about the previous point about think about companies that are outside the sport. I don't get that many sponsorships pitches sent to me. Maybe when the people stop by our booth at PRI, occasionally I get one, but I don't get that many. So goes back to my former point. But the other thing that I would just advise I would give is two things on proposals or decks is don't make any recommendations in that deck until you've gotten to know the company you're trying to build a partnership with, because you don't know what they need. You might have some ideas based on your research you've done, but you don't know that. The other thing is, I think, is it takes time. It's not a one and done. Don't just send something. Don't just stop by once. You've got to repeatedly do it. And I'm drawing a blank on the name of the young racer, but he and his family, I get cards for them like throughout the year, how he's doing in races, and they'll stop by and see me at PRI, and it's the multiple touches that I think make a difference.
Well, thank you, David. Thank you for taking time on a Saturday afternoon. I appreciate that. I look forward to seeing you at the next event.
All right. Thank you.
Right. Take care, bud. All right, let's cue up Dan Bailey from Epic Racewear. Dan, this is also a unique session for me because it's my first Canadian company. All the brands so far have been, well, French, I guess. We've had BFGoodrich on, but taking a perspective from a Canadian sponsor. Let's look at this. And Epic stands for, well, not stands for, but you could say every product is custom. Let's talk about that for a second. All your products are custom and you're from Canada.
Yes, most of our products are custom anyways. All of our racewear products, that's our meat and butter, our custom line. We also offer non-custom items as well. We offer everything from soup to nuts for a race car, from body panels all the way to nuts and bolts.
And are you looking for new race teams?
Always. We have a large presence in Ontario, Canada. We don't have much of a presence on the other side of the border. We're fairly new to the American market. We do have NASCAR teams in the 3 national series, but outside of that, we just have fits and spurts of small-time racers in the US.
That's why I thought you would be a great fit for the summit, because you are looking for athletes right now. You're looking for racers to represent the brand. You're looking for racers to help you form relationships in the United States and in other countries outside of Canada. If there are racers on the call who can do that, what is it that you want from them? What would you be looking for from them?
And it's not just racers; it's anybody in motorsports. Whether you're influencers, a track, a series, a sanctioning body, anybody that can use our product, which is anybody in motorsports, we're open to working with them. We're looking for them to bring us clients that we wouldn't have if we didn't have a connection with them. We are strong on the B2B platform. With our other companies, we do have marketing and promotional products. Anything and everything branded is a secondary division of our company. So any of the clients that are associated with you on your race car, part of your series, business associates, we can service them as well. And much like Fifth Third Bank was saying, that's our mantra. That's what we want. Our customer typically isn't sitting in the stands. So that side of the logo, or that logo on the side of the car, although it's cool, makes me feel good, it looks nice in photos, I don't know that there's a return on that for me.
You're not selling race gear to too many spectators. You're selling to the people in the pits.
Right. I mean, there's 10% of the crowd are racers themselves, but often, clients will or teams will ask me, where do you want the logo? I want it on the back bumper, because the guy behind you sees it then. We aren't focused on just winners, because the guy from the front of the field to the back of the field can use our product. Each and every racer needs our product. So that's our focus is widespread. We once had a Team Epic project, and we thought that was a great idea, be a part of our team, and until we realized that our teammates were fighting because they're competitors amongst themselves. So we let that one go to the wayside because we were trying to promote this team atmosphere, but it just didn't work.
Welcome to the racing industry. Yeah, they're very
Yeah,
competitive racers. So since you are looking for
and
more representatives, go ahead, Dan.
absolutely, absolutely. We had met. I met you at PRI, and we reached out to many people that were already at your summits and presentations there. Influencers, other racers, series, tracks, and anybody and everybody. You know, from racewear, so the fire suits, gloves, boots, Nomex underwear, helmets, Hans, all that stuff, crew shirts, baseball hats, t-shirts, it doesn't matter. And we're able to extend our sponsorship partnership all the way down the line. You know, our partnership and sponsorship typically works out that it's a discount on products that you're going to buy anyway, so it's much the same as cash. And it starts off small, right? We tiptoe, and the more you perform, the more you get. It's pretty simple.
It's common that way with a lot of companies that are sponsoring. They start small. Um, since you are looking for more brand ambassadors, in what series specifically are you looking? Would you like to expand to?
Well, I think I like dirt.
Okay.
We don't have a whole lot in the ATV UTV market. We have a lot of late models and legend cars and stuff like that. But any new market is what we're after, and really all new markets, and you know, anything south of the border is considered new market to me. Right now we're involved from carts to cup, so it's wide open.
And when you say south of the border, you're talking about south of the Canadian border.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
When we say
Yep.
south of the border
And
here in San Diego, it's a little bit different. Well, there's
for
a
sure
big
it is.
race.
For sure it is.
There's a big race this weekend, Parker 400, which I encourage you to consider, and racers in that. And then up and coming in a week for the next couple of weeks is the King of the Hammers race out in Johnson Valley. We have several competitors on this call that are going to be at King of the Hammers. Let's say if one of them thinks that they are a good fit for you and can help your brand. How can they reach you? What is it that they should do in order to approach you? Do you want a deck? Do you want a proposal? Do you want a phone call, an email?
A simple shout out. We have an email set up, partnerships@epicracewear.ca. Just send me a note there. If you go to our website, we're in a major overhaul right now, but I did make the partnership links available. You can fill out a form, you can upload a deck or anything you'd like there. But just an open conversation is the best way to start, and it's very seldom that we say no. Of course, we would like to make sure that you have something to offer us. Then we definitely have something to offer you. So it's got to be that two-way street.
So if a racer really has a lot of connections and can introduce you to a lot of different teams, is there hope for more than just a discount? Can they get full product, or is cash an option as well?
Absolutely. Everything changes as the needle moves. You know, we had one driver years ago pick up the phone while he was with a NASCAR Cup driver, and that phone conversation led to us providing racewear for his Cup team, his Xfinity team, and then through going to the events, we developed relationships through the garage, and we now deal with 11 teams based on one phone call. That driver gets a lot of stuff for free.
Right on. And what has he done that, or he or she, that is above and beyond? You know, what can racers on the call learn from that experience that they can better perform for their sponsors?
Be engaged. Don't just accept the sponsorship or the partnership and then not talk to me again until next season. You know, tickle my feather kind of thing. You know, you have to tag me, you have to post about things, you have to put me in contact with other people and ask me what else you can do. If you ask, I will tell you. A lot of the times it's difficult. I understand racers sometimes feel that all they have to do is win, and that's good enough for me. Well, it's not, because as I said, the racer finishing 13th is my client as well. So often winners are the worst ambassadors because they feel that they've done their job, they've won. But I need more.
How do you measure results?
We don't have a solid method of measuring results other than tracking where our sales are coming from. We diversify our marketing budget and our sponsorships, and you can usually see things come to us in pockets of success, I'll say. If we start something with a new track or a new series, if they're doing a good job, we see a sudden increase from within that series. So it's basically sales. But then in the first couple of years, or the first couple of months anyways, but when we first started a relationship, it's the exposure and the social media stuff. If my phone's going off and I see your race team, I'm happy.
So earlier I was talking to Coca-Cola and Stanley Black & Decker, and those companies are so large. It's kind of hard sometimes to know what moves the needle, what form of marketing is effective, and what causes, increase in sales. But I'm assuming a younger, smaller company, exactly what moves the needle, and when things are effective. What has worked in the past?
In the past, a lot of the things that have worked has been direct results, much like what the Fifth Third Bank was saying. When we start a relationship with somebody, if we are immediately able to provide them with their business products as well, their sponsorship products, they put us in contact with other business partners, that's an immediate return. We don't have to guess on which brand impression or which announcement on the PA or something made the needle move. When we start a relationship and we can exchange phone numbers right off the bat with a potential client, that moves the needle. We need you to make that introduction to us, and we'll take it from there.
That's a good point. It's a lot of times that's the case, is the sponsor wants the team to make that introduction because the sponsor knows how to market their products. They certainly know. So Dan, are there some last words of advice that you have, or anything that I didn't cover, something you'd like to say to the racers on the call about Epic and getting sponsored by Epic?
Mainly do what you say you're going to do, and maybe more. What you do off the track is more important than what you do on the track. You can't control what happens on the track. Stuff happens where your night is ended a lot sooner than you wanted it to be. But you can control product activation on Saturday, or you can control your TikTok videos, or you can control, unboxing videos and things like that. So control what you can, and do a good job at controlling what you can. Speak to the local media at the racetrack, become friends with them. If you make their job easy, you will become their favorite spokesperson, and that's free. And if you become their favorite spokesperson, you soon become my favorite spokesperson as well.
Ooh, I like that. If you become the media's favorite spokesperson, you become my favorite spokesperson. I like that. I'm going to steal that.
Sure.
Dan, thank you very much. Thank you for attending the sponsorship summit. That was great. And letting me now broaden into Canada. I like bringing Canadian companies into this. That's
perfect.
Great. Let's pull up another. This is a longtime friend of mine. I've been working with Kyle for a long time. I just recently saw him at the Fifth Third Bank reception at PRI. Kyle Keitzman, CEO of Racing Force, which is Bell Helmets, OMP, a bunch of other brands. What's up, Kyle?
Thanks, Alex, for having me on. I appreciate it, the opportunity to join you guys. And all of us that have been on here sell products or services to the industry. And having a healthy racing industry is important, and sponsorship plays a big role in that.
It really does. It really does. And I appreciate you coming on and taking time on a Saturday. Your brand needs no introduction. I mean, I think you probably have one of the most visible logos in all of motorsports. Bell. Boom.
Yeah, so the Bell logo is iconic. It's actually kind of based on the Ford logo, and has been around since 1954. We also have OMP, which is an Italian-based brand that sells racewear and also car parts, seats, and harnesses, and window nets, and steering wheels, and all kinds of things. And that's founded in 1973. So, two iconic brands that have been around motorsports for a long time. We also have Racing Spirit, which is an apparel brand, and then another brand called Zero Noise, which makes radio equipment. Also, the driver's eye in-helmet camera that's used in Formula One and NASCAR is part of that brand.
That is cool. That is so cool. Driver's in-car or in-helmet camera.
Absolutely.
I need one of those. For the past decade or so, I call around Christmas every year because my kids always need new helmets, and you guys can't see it, but there are helmets all across this wall here, that wall and the wall behind me. And it's mostly because of Kyle hooking me up with a coupon right around Christmas when we buy the helmets.
Right.
Dad, I need a new helmet. Helmets are expensive. So I'm very grateful to, at least let me reword that, good helmets are very expensive. So I'm very grateful.
There's a lot that goes into safety products. Ultimately protecting people, that's important. So, we make products that enhance safety and performance, and also maximize your on-track performance.
So why do you sponsor them? They need your product regardless. They're going to buy it. Why do you sponsor?
Well, certainly sponsorship has changed over the years. When I started in the industry, we had, I'll go back, filing cabinets full of decks and sponsorship proposals, and you'd look at Speed Sport News and try to figure out, who was an up and coming racer and who was winning races. And certainly a lot of that has changed. And now our sponsorships are more based on series sponsorships, team sponsorships, partnerships, and then also sponsorships with professional drivers. And in many cases, those sponsorships also involve R&D, because we're trying to constantly improve the products and innovate new products for racers.
Oh, that's good. You're one of the first that actually mentioned that today, is the product innovation and product R&D, I guess. So sponsorships allow you to create new products and innovate.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of give you an example of that. One athlete that we've worked a long time with is Brad Kozlowski, who's now part owner of RFK. And we sponsor Brad Penske Racing, but then we worked with Brad very closely to develop a brand new helmet for NASCAR that was used last year in almost 50% of the field in NASCAR.
Wow.
And through that relationship, we not only developed a great product, but then when he had an opportunity to become a principal at RFK and an owner, that relationship expanded into us having an official partnership on the racewear side with OMP, and continuing that practice of trying to innovate and build great products by working with top people within the sport. So that R&D aspect, I think that's something that you can't underestimate when you're approaching potential sponsors.
Yeah, and the car companies do that too. They use racing to transfer technology. If it works at the track, then they sometimes goes into the next year's production line or future production line. Racers are a great place for companies to experiment with products. And yeah, I can totally see that. Are you looking for more teams to represent Bell or OMP or?
Yeah, we're always
new
looking at
products?
expanding. Yeah, we're always looking at expanding relationships. I think it's important for everybody to understand how products are sold in our industry, because we also sell through distributors, and the reality is 80% of our products are sold through distributors. So when we do sponsorships, we do have to be careful that we're not also competing with other customers within our industry. So a lot of our sponsorships are based on athletes that we're able to develop a relationship with, that we think that can be great brand ambassadors for our products, and that relationship develops over time. I know a lot of the people on the call have talked about the importance of relationships, and that's really where everything starts.
It really does. It really does. Especially as Catherine said, alliances. I love that. I love that term. I'm going to steal it. What does a sponsorship from your companies look like? And I know that 4 different companies, each probably the sponsorships are structured slightly differently.
Yeah, they can be different depending on the brand and depending on the situation. So some are sponsorships that are related to product sales. We might have a partnership with developing a specific line of apparel for a specific partner. It just depends on the situation. Some sponsorships are product oriented, where we will provide some free product based on exposure for the brand and other certain deliverables. It just varies by brand.
If I don't know all the brands, or let's say I'm looking to get sponsored in general, I'm not sure what your objectives are, how can I find out what they are?
Yeah, I think it's important. We talked a lot about doing some research, but definitely looking at the company's websites, looking at different press releases, different sponsorship announcements, getting a feel for what the company's doing within these industries. I think that's really important. Also, keep in mind some of these companies are public companies, so it's really good to look at SEC filings and look at some of the investor information that's put out. I think that gives you a really good sense of what some of the company objectives are.
That's a really good point. You're the first one that said that. Public companies, and in my sponsorship book, I talk about difference between franchises versus COCOs, company owned and company operated. But it goes another level as well, because when you're publicly traded, you have Sarbanes-Oxley and you have all these different rules you have to follow. That's
Absolutely.
interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can learn a lot about that, and then you can learn some of the key players, and then you can also understand who you need to develop relationships within those brands and those companies.
Right, right. What is your fiscal year budget cycle when you make sponsorship decisions?
So really all the sponsorship decisions have been made by now, because we're on a calendar year. And so typically budgets are done September, October. So we know what we're going to invest in for the following year at that stage.
So in other words, at SEMA, don't hand you a deck, or PRI, don't hand you a deck.
Yeah, I mean, most of not that we don't have some leeway. We build that into our budgets, and depending on the circumstances, we can, certainly work with people, and we're open to things, especially if you're bringing us a deal that's going to generate revenue and return. We're always open to a conversation.
Do you prefer to sponsor racers and teams directly, or the series, which has a bunch of teams?
We've done both. And we do both. It just depends on what makes the most sense. We have a sponsorship program for F4, for example. We sponsor the Road to Indy, for example. Those are examples of saying it would be difficult for us to go out and try and sponsor all the athletes that are participating in those feeder series. But if we sponsor the series and we do some product sponsorship and some contingency, money, things like that, then that's a good way for us to sponsor the overall ecosystem of racers that are competing there.
And then how do you measure your results? Obviously sales, but how do you know that that specific team or racer was responsible?
Yeah, that's just, having the key relationships with our commercial team, doing a full evaluation of whether that sponsorship was successful or not. And then certainly on the social side, we've got a large social media team that kind of looks at whether or not we're generating impressions and what kind of outreach or reach those specific sponsorships carry.
Are there any examples of teams that are doing an outstanding job?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you look at we got David Morton on the call. I think RFK is an example of a team that's doing a great job, one of our partners. And I think that's a tribute to Brad Kozlowski. So for example, Brad called us up and said, "Hey, I got something I want to drop off." This was before Christmas, and he drops off a framed fire suit that he wore this year. And always, every time I see him, he's asking me, "What can I do for you?" And I think that's important, and don't underestimate also those business to business connections and relationships that you could bring to the table, because that's what drives all these businesses.
We've heard that many times today, the B2B, the alliances, the connections, the partnerships. We've heard that a lot. Are there any relationships you're looking for now? Is there anything that maybe a racer on the call can help you with that you don't have?
I think we're always looking. You had a segment where we talked about younger racers that are entering the sport. We're always looking for who's next, who's up and coming, who's going to be the next champion or the next great representative for our brand. So we're always interested in working with younger athletes as well.
Nice. And you are then, I'm assuming you are looking for younger athletes now to potentially work with. That's
Yeah, we are. And so, you know, we have various representatives at racetracks. You know, there's always our commercial staff that you can approach, our websites. We've got an email address, info.usa@racingforce.com. That's a good way to reach out. We attend shows like PRI. We're on the ground at SEMA.
Yeah.
So we're always looking to learn about new people coming into our sport.
You must have had a really good PRI, because I went to PRI this year and I tried to find you several times. There were so many damn people in your booth. I never had any luck.
Yeah, I think
It must have been a good year.
yeah, I think K1 mentioned PRI is an important show for them. It's an important show for us. We're there to work with our distributors and our clients. You know, as was said, it's not always the best time to approach us with sponsor decks and things like that, because we're there doing business, but it's always a good opportunity to connect with our staff and build a relationship.
Where is a good place or time to approach you? You know, like you said, JR at K1 said races, racetracks. You know, it sounds good, but have you ever tried to find someone at a racetrack, especially a busy one like the Chili Bowl? It's almost impossible to find people.
Yeah, it can be
Services
difficult and hectic. I think the best thing is you know, to reach out to us even via social media, send us an email. We do have pro stores in Mooresville, North Carolina, and also in Indianapolis. So those are great places to go to. If you see one of our representatives at a racetrack, if you can catch that person and schedule allows, that's also a good time to try to connect with one of our staff.
So you said that, correct me if I'm wrong, you said 80% of your business goes through distributors?
Yeah, it's a big part of our business. So that's something that you know, years ago we had a pretty heavy sponsorship presence on our websites, where we offered people opportunities to send decks and things. And what we realized, frankly, is we were starting to compete with some of our distributors for business. So if we took a sale away here, have to understand that, you know, we may sell the helmet to the customer, but that customer also buys a whole host of products from that distributor, and that interferes with that relationship. So we're frankly a little bit sensitive to that, and we want to support the retailers and distributors that are also selling our products.
Do you work with those retailers or distributors on cross promotions and co-sponsorships of athletes or teams?
Absolutely. So we had a NASCAR champion this year in Ryan Blaney, and so we did a direct sale with our distribution network, where we had a 12% off discount, so that they could extend that to all of their retail partners. And obviously with Ryan, we're having number 12, it kind of made sense. So we try to connect some of those things, but yeah, it's important to support the people that are selling your products.
So one way to potentially meet you is through a distributor as well.
Absolutely. We've had several, you know, sponsorship relationships that have come through working with one of our distributors. As they grow in the sport and get to the higher levels, then sometimes that becomes an opportunity to have a direct sponsorship relationship.
That's cool. It's good to know. Kyle, we have 1 minute left. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's always better when the person is wearing your products and comes to you for sponsorship versus they're wearing something else. So
oh yeah,
that's always something to consider. One thing that I think hasn't been maybe mentioned is that with social media, you know, there's a lot of opportunity for brands to research drivers. And so drivers that are coming to us to sponsorship, it's important to realize that we can also learn about you. We can talk to other competitors that you race with, how you conduct yourself, how you manage your brand. So I think that's something that's extremely important, and relying on professionals like Alex to make sure that you're representing yourself well, and that brands will be willing to invest in you is something that's very important.
You know, I was going to ask you last words of advice, but that was it. Because yeah, you're right. Brands can research the teams just like the team can research the brand. When I was talking with Mark Crumey from iBox Springs, he said every time he gets a sponsorship proposal, first thing he does is straight to Google, and he researches everything he can about that racer just to see if there's a fit.
Absolutely.
Hey, Kyle, thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Thank you for taking off on a Saturday. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, I'll see you.
Take care.
All right, let's queue up our closer here, Cam Douglas. Cam was out at King of the Hammers when I was talking to him a couple days ago. Cam, are you still out in the desert? Let's see. He has to, you might have to unmute Cam.
I'm unmuting.
There we go.
You got
There
me?
we go. I hear you. I hear you. I see you.
Great.
Where are
Okay,
you now?
cool.
Are you,
Yeah,
are
I'm
you out at
actually,
the Optima compound you were telling me about?
I was. Now I'm just I'm driving home. So I'm just about to get on the 15 and make the drive back.
Right
So,
on. Well, I kept you last
yeah,
because you did
it was
something
a
that was,
long week last.
I think we have a little delay, but I was
Sorry,
saying, I
got a little delay going.
yeah, we do. It's all good. But I put you on as my closer because you did something that I think was the absolute best marketing I saw all year long. And then you did it again, and it started at SEMA and then you carried it over to PRI. And when we talked, you were actually driving back to get more because it was so effective. And that are the Optima carry bags. The bags that you take when at your trade show to carry all the swag and the books and the magazines and the things that you pick up. Optima turned them into backpacks this year. And everywhere I went, I was following somebody with a giant Optima logo. Whose idea was that? Was that your idea?
You know, it was actually a combination, but it was uh I mean, it was my idea to take advantage, but it was actually the supplier. So kudos to him, not more so than me. He showed it to me. They were doing these backpacks, and I thought it was kind of stupid, but then I started about it. I went all in. We've got 10,000 bags for SEMA, and we ran out in the first 2 days. So
Yeah.
we had to go. Yeah, we had to drive back to California and go grab some more.
That was brilliant. That was great. Everybody's going to copy that next year, right? We're going to see so many backpacks next year. It's going to be ridiculous, but that was all because of Optima.
Yeah, we'll have to think up something else.
I was ahead of the curve. So obviously we're on a sponsorship call. Racers on the call are looking to get sponsored. And there's a few marketing directors on the call. You're the one who said to me, Alex, start gearing these towards marketing directors as well. And I appreciate that. We had a session with Tony Merritt and Al Rondon from Stanley Black & Decker, DeWalt, and Coca-Cola earlier to help educate marketing directors. And the whole session was designed for marketing directors. You can also speak a lot to that because you've said once that not only do these sponsorship summits help racers, but they also help marketing directors. Why is that? What is it that the industry needs to learn from these sponsorship summits that we haven't said yet, or maybe we have said, but it needs to be emphasized?
Yeah, I mean, I've just being on the call is a great kind of re-education of the basics that sometimes, if you've been in the industry for quite a while, you lose sight of kind of some of the blocking and tackling. We always try to revert to, kind of the things that have always worked for us, and try to repeat those, right? And try to avoid the things that didn't work. So I don't know if that's a good enough answer, but I'm just being on the call here for about the last hour has been great.
I appreciate that. And just you being in the field, driving home from Johnson Valley, where I know you were setting up for an event that's up and coming, it sort of proves what I said when I started and I opened. I said, marketing directors who sit behind four walls, behind a desk, are not marketing. You have to get out and you have to meet the customer and you have to engage and look in their eye and shake their hand, and you have to be in the field. And that's why sponsorship can be such a valuable tool, because a marketing director can't be everywhere all at once. They need those brand ambassadors to help them and go out and represent in the areas where the marketing director doesn't have time or resources to go to. So Optima Batteries is a big sponsor of many series and a lot of racers. I'm just going to ask real basic. Why is it that you sponsor, and what do you expect from your teams and properties that you sponsor in return?
Yeah, for us, sponsorships are extremely important. The partnerships that we have with influencers, racers, any of the, professionals in our industry, for, and really what we strive for is for people who, that their outreach is, I know it sounds cliche, but breaking through the noise. They're willing to be creative, willing to take risks, and most of all, they're hand raisers when we have an idea, whether it's a good one or bad one, they'll participate. But for us, I think the most important thing in our different relationships is to make sure that they have the ability to create lasting impressions. We've had a lot of opportunities, and we have worked with some folks who are, big social media influencers, and they charge, tens of $1,000s for a post. And I kind of look at those like you're advertising in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
If I took all my budget and advertised in the Super Bowl, it'd be wonderful. I'd get a lot of exposure for that day. But for my brand, our product line, the purchase cycle is much longer. So, and I cannot efficiently find today those consumers that have a failed battery, because that is the single most important driver to a purchase of a battery. If you think about the last time you bought one, typically it isn't because it's an impulse buy, right? My vehicle battery failed today and I need a battery. So if I'm top of mind when they go look for that battery, when their battery fails, I win, right? And so it's those lasting impressions, not the flash in the pan, that are important for us. So long-term relationships and the ability to create lasting impressions.
And what you're saying translates to a lot of different brands and companies. We really didn't talk about that at all yet. And so I'm glad that you're bringing it up. With Coca-Cola, Al Rondon, you can buy a Coke every day or several Cokes every day, but you only buy a battery once every few years. And so to be top of mind is very important. A race team might start representing you now, even though the people that they're marketing to might not be buying for a year or two or even longer. What are some really effective ways that the race teams stay top of mind and keep Optima Battery top of mind for the brand?
Well, a couple key things, and that's, and we just launched this a year ago, but really it's a new, what we call brand expression, and it's different than our standard logo and our guidelines, and using the right Pantone and everything, and in X amount of square inches on a vehicle. Our brand expression is more along the lines of creating a common look and feel for Tanner Faust's drift taxi and Chris Pavarde's desert truck, right? His trophy truck. And if we put that trophy truck in a garage with the drift taxi, they look like they belong together. So it's a use of color. It's something that, if it goes by at 150 miles an hour, at least you have a lasting impression and that afternoon when, after you're done watching trophy trucks run and you're watching a road race or whatever, that other vehicle that goes by that has a significant Optima partnership, it's that consistent message, right? That consistent look and feel. So,
what? Oops, I thought I lost you there for a second. You're back again.
Yep.
What? Give me an example of a really good sponsorship that you have or had that met all of those goals?
So I'd say the ones that we have, because they've lasted, are the best ones. And I'll use Chris Pavorde as a significant, top of our list. And Tanner Faust is right there. We have some others like Wayne Matlock and UTVs. I mean, I think you'll see he'll be racing in 2 weeks on the desert race at KOH. And again, if I put all those vehicles together, they're chase vehicles, their suits, everything that they do, specifically from an appearance standpoint, that's extremely important for us. Goes well beyond that. Like I was talking about before, all three of those that I mentioned are always hand raisers. As long as their schedule allows, they'll make the time, they'll be creative, they'll spend the time on the phone, on a Teams call, in person, driving up to see us at our shop, to do whatever it takes to create value.
We've heard from companies that market to racers because they're trying to sell to the racers in the pits and the teams. And then we've heard from companies that sell to consumers. What's the split of your sales? How much are endemic race to racers and performance versus consumer sales for Optima?
Consumer sales are by far and away a much larger piece of our sales, and that's just because of the I guess the scale and volume that we enjoy. Most of our product is sold through larger national automotive retail parts retailers. So the racing community is relatively small and as it relates to the broader consumer market. Extremely important. That's the center of the bullseye for us. Those are the core influencers that reach out to that next level as those rings get larger in that out to the general public. So, but we also sell to racers. It's not just 100% sponsorship opportunity for us, thankfully.
Right. Are you looking for more racers to represent Optima? You need any more brand ambassadors?
Always. Yeah, always.
And if I'm a racer and I think I'm a good fit, how do I approach you? How do I understand what to do? What do you want from me? How do I get sponsored by Optima?
Well, it would be unusual if somebody thought that they were the next best thing to sliced bread in the ability for them to promote and sell our product. It would be unusual, not saying that it doesn't happen many times, but it's unusual if I wouldn't already have heard of you first or know of you. But a great way to make yourself known is to be at the events where Optima is partnering with, right. Whether it's a Optima Streetcar Invitational, whether it's King of Hammers, whether it's Score. I mean, our partnership list for events is well over 400 specific events per year.
Wow.
It doesn't mean that I'm not there all of those for obvious reasons, but every weekend I'm at an event. I mean, right. Whether it's a simple local cars and coffee, I eat, sleep, and breathe automobiles and trucks. So it is my passion. And similar with the rest of the team. So it would be, best way is just to reach out to us at one of those events in person.
Cam, you locked up there. I don't know if we lost you or if it's just a temporary glitch. It might have canceled on us. I'm not sure, but we're down to the last 30 seconds anyway. So I'm going to wrap it up. Cam, if you come back, let me know. Right now you're locked up. So thank you everybody for attending this. This was, I always learn. This is once again one of my favorite calls because I get more information that I can then use in my membership program where I help racers, connect with brands. We have monthly member calls, and I try to put all these, the marketing directors that you see on the summit on these member calls. You can hear from them directly, which is pretty cool. I learn stuff every time, and it helps me plan these. I think the big takeaway is if there's a marketing director that's sitting in an office at a desk, just doing their job, running ads and placing TV commercials, that's not marketing, in my opinion. You need to market and you need to be in the field. And you saw Cam is in the field. You saw JR was in the field. All these, the most successful brands, the most successful marketing directors, they're out there doing things, and they can't reach everything. Cam was just mentioning 400 events in a year. He can't be at 400 events, but you can be there for him. So sponsorship makes sense if you can show that you can be a company's representative in the field, a brand ambassador.